For those of you who couldn't hear me, I'll try that. We have a lot of fun. A lot in front of us for today, so we'll get started. As of June 2nd, we have three newly appointed trustees, and I'm pleased that they're joining us today. I'd like to first introduce them and then ask each to join me in the front of the room to take the oath of office. During the oath of office, I will be assisted by Vice Chair Cindy Lucchese, who will hold the Bible. As many of you know, the Bible will be used was the one Herman Wells' most prized possessions. He kept it close at hand, and he always loaned it to the Board of Trustees. I, too, have been reappointed for a term that will conclude at the end of June 30, 2026. Vice Chair Lucchese will swear me in following the others. Our first appointment, Sage Steele. Trustee Steele has been appointed by Governor Braun to serve a 3-year term that will include a June 30, 2028, will conclude at June 30, 2028. She is a longtime national TV broadcaster and is currently the host of the Sage Steele Show on YouTube and all podcast platforms. She earned a BS degree from IU in Sports Communication Broadcast in 1995, went on to hold a role in producing, reporting, and anchoring across the country. She was a fixture at ESPN from 2007 to 2023, primarily hosting the network's flagship show, SportsCenter. Through the years, she has hosted a variety of other shows, including SportsCenter coverage of the Super Bowl, the Masters, NBA Finals, World Series, and several other national and international sporting events. She was the Indiana University commencement speaker in 2015. We're pleased to have her joining our board. Sage. Our second appointee is James Bopp Jr., who has been appointed by Governor Braun to serve a 3-year term that concludes June 30, 2028. He is the principal attorney for the Bopp Law Firm in Terre Haute. Well, I should say Terre Haute, Indiana, for anybody who's not from Indiana and don't get that. Terre Haute, Indiana. It's a big deal. And earned a BA in History and Political Science from IU in 1970 and a JD from the University of Florida College of Law. His First Amendment litigation practice includes over 190 campaign cases against federal and state laws in over 45 states. His Supreme Court practice includes winning 9 of 14 cases that the court has decided on the merits. He has served IU as an instructor at the IU Kelley School of Business and a lecturer at the IU Maurer School of Law and at IU's McKinney School of Law. Welcome, Trustee Bopp. Thank you. Our third appointee is Brian Eagle. He's been appointed to serve a 2-year term that will conclude on June 30, 2027. He has earned a BS in accounting at IU Kelley School of Business in 1986 and a JD from Hofstra University in 1990, and is a nationally recognized attorney, educator, author, wealth strategy consultant. His professional accomplishments include founding the law firm of Eagle & Fang of Indianapolis, where he leads as the managing attorney co-funding Legacy Administrative Services, a company focusing on estate planning administration, and Inherilink, a digital estate planning client portal, and founding the Eagle Wealth Planning Institute, where he serves as the director of that institute. During his time as a student at IU, he served as student manager of the men's soccer team from 1983 to 1986, and in 1996 was recognized by Indiana University Soccer for his years of dedication and outstanding service to youth. And I want to welcome you all. So I ask that you come up here because before we get going, we got to swear you in.
So start with Sage. Invite Sage up.
I'm going to start with the lady. You all right? My fault. Where's my magic words? Who is the Bible? Please come join us. Okay, we'll go like this. Place your hand on the Bible. Right hand, please. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties
as a trustee of Indiana University
as a trustee of Indiana University
to the best of my skill and ability,
to the best of my skill and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. I want to make sure, because, you know, I like the new trustees. Can we get a picture? I want to make sure I get a picture.
I think there's supposed to be pictures.
Yeah, I think we, Madam President,
Oh, yes. Cool.
thank you.
Okay.
Excuse me. All right, Jim, if you will. I think I can handle this.
You are doing a great job.
I'm just reading.
Sweet life.
You place your left hand on the Bible, place your right hand, raise your right hand. Sorry, yeah.
I, James Bob Jr.
Thank you. Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties
as a trustee of Indiana University
as a trustee of Indiana University
to the best of my skills and ability,
to the best of my skills and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Hey.
Did you say over because she put her own hand on it? Brian, is your wife Kelly here? Hey, Kelly, how are you? Instead of taking pictures, come on up. You can come hold the Bible. Help us hold the Bible. Come on.
Come on, come on.
Come on.
No, give me a break.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
It's heavy, Kelly.
Oh,
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
let's get the chairs out of the way because I want everybody that's taking a picture. You stand over there next to him with the Bible because he's going to have to put his hand on the Bible. Place your left hand on the Bible, your right hand in the air, and I say, I
I, Brian Eagle,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties
as a trustee of Indiana University
as a trustee of Indiana University
to the best of my skill and ability,
to the best of my skill and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you.
No,
You did a
thank
great
you.
job.
We want to take a photo with the president, so if you will. No, where you going? We're going to step away. You guys take a quick picture. We're going to step out of it. Yeah. Can you get a picture of those two? I mean, this is a momentous occasion. I don't know about the rest of it. This is a big deal to me. I'm sure it is to you. Take a picture. Don't look at me. Oh, that's right. My turn.
It's your turn.
The hand goes on the back.
Okay.
Do what? All right. Good.
Oh, that's great.
Last and least, I'm being reappointed and vice chairman. Cindy LaCasey is going to help me out.
So Here we go.
Yes. I, Quinn Buckner,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties
that I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties
as a trustee of Indiana University
as a trustee of Indiana University
to the best of my skill and ability,
to the best of my skill and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yay.
Thank you.
Huzzah.
Thank you. You can have that. I don't do pictures. Not enough for pictures. I do pictures. I don't know how else to tell you that. Thank you. So, now that we have you, we're going to put you to work. So the first thing we want to do is the tuition form, if you will. Oh, I need to gavel into that. Good afternoon and welcome to those joining us via the broadcast for Indiana University's tuition form. It's tuition form and fees. The tuition form is called to order. I'd like to take a moment to introduce myself joining us today. For you joining us today, I'm Quinn Buckner, Chair of the Board of Indiana University. With us today are Vice Chair Cindy Lucchese from Indianapolis, Trustee Jim Bopp from Terre Haute, Indiana, Trustee Brian Eagle from Indianapolis, Trustee Kathy Langham from Carmel, Trustee Tim Morris from Nashville, Tennessee, Trustee Kyle Siebert. You just moved to Chicago? Just moved to Chicago. Trustee Sage Steele from Florida, and Trustee Isaac Torres from Elkhart. Thank you all for taking the time to participate in this important session. This is the process we will follow. We will first hear from President Winton, and then Jason Dudich, Vice President and Chief Financial Officer, who will present the proposal for tuition and fees. After this presentation, we'll take questions and comments and then adjourn. The approval process for the proposal will take place as part of the Finance and Audit Committee this afternoon. President Winton, I turn it over to you for your report.
Great. Thank you, Chairman Buckner. At Indiana University, our mission continues to be guided by the three interrelated pillars of IU 2030 strategic plan. Of course, advancing student success and opportunity, expanding research and creative activity, and strengthening our commitment to communities across Indiana and beyond. And central to this mission is ensuring that an IU education remains accessible and affordable. And over the past 4 years, we've made significant strides in reducing student debt, simplifying costs, and expanding financial support for Hoosier families. So in 2024, IU saw a 23% increase in fundraising support specifically for student success and affordability over the previous year. Our acclaimed financial literacy programs have helped students make informed financial decisions and contributed to reductions in borrowing. We've also simplified our tuition and fee structure. So beginning in fiscal year 24, we reduced the number of academic fees by half, resulting in an annual savings of $14.5 million for our students collectively. And as a result of these and other efforts, 55% of undergraduates across all IU campuses graduate with no student loan debt. We're proud of that number, but we are ambitious to make that number much larger in the future. We've also taken steps to support our graduate students better. IU Bloomington has raised the minimum stipend for graduate students with part-time teaching or research appointments effective July 1, an increase that builds on multiple prior adjustments to ensure that our stipends remain competitive and reflect these students' vital contributions to the academic mission of Indiana University. All these efforts reflect our unwavering commitment to student success and financial responsibility. So today I'm pleased to announce that Indiana University will recommend holding tuition and mandatory fees flat for in-state undergraduate students for the fall 25 and 26 year and for the 26-27 academic years. This recommendation underscores our dedication to affordability and access, even as we continue to invest in academic excellence and student support. For out-of-state undergraduate students, we're recommending a modest tuition increase of 1%. Mandatory fees will remain flat for out-of-state undergraduate students as well. And for students in our graduate programs, we're proposing a modest increase of up to 2%, with exceptions for certain health and medical fields. This adjustment reflects market demand and ensures that we can continue offering high-quality graduate education at a sustainable cost. These proposals align with last month's guidance from the Indiana Commission on Higher Education that all 7 of the state's public colleges and universities hold tuition flat for undergraduate resident students. So we recognize the challenging budgetary environment facing the state and appreciate the continued dialogue with the Indiana General Assembly, with Governor Braun, and with the Commission for Higher Education. Even amid a reduced appropriations, we remain steadfast in our mission to deliver affordable, high-quality education to students from Indiana. We also thank our alumni and our donors whose generosity helps make IU's promise of opportunity a reality for thousands of students. So now I'd like to turn the floor over to Vice President and Chief Financial Officer Jason Dudich, who will present our tuition recommendation in more detail.
Thank you, President Whitten, Chairman Buckner, and members of the board. Before you today is the required state law process to provide information around our tuition recommendations for the next biennium, as the President noted. I'll be brief in my comments as I don't want to duplicate the President's indication of where our recommendations are, but do want to share with members of the board, our IU community, and members of the public some information that we thought would be helpful as we talk about our tuition and fee recommendations for the next biennium. So our agenda today is just to discuss our tuition fee philosophy, some data and metrics that we've historically showed to you that help drive decisions not only at IU, but also some metrics that the state looks at with regard to tuition and fee recommendations, student affordability and peer comparisons across the nation, and then our formal recommendation. So we have 4 main areas that focus on our tuition and fee setting policy. The first is to look at the availability of resources that align with our critical investments around IU 2030 to ensure that we are maintaining affordability for students, but also making investments in the initiatives and programs that are part of our strategic plan. Looking at external factors, the economic climate that is going on, state and federal funding that the President mentioned, the impact on our revenues and expenses that create challenges and opportunities. And as we know, with the state reduction that was mentioned, as well as federal impact, it is easy to turn to tuition and fees and say, let's increase that and offset that. But as the President said, affordability is important, and ensuring that our students graduate with little to no debt is a priority. And so we certainly take into account all of those external factors when looking at tuition and fee recommendations. We also need to be mindful that we need to find opportunities for expense reductions and alignments that we have continued to do in the past and will continue to do in the future without compromising student success, research engagement, and supporting the state of Indiana and globally the world. And then finally, the tuition and fee rate recommendations that came from the Commission and ensuring how we compare against that. And as you've heard the President say, we are going to take their recommendations, but also ensuring, again, continued investment in major initiatives and programs around IU 2030. So just some data and metrics to give the board and members of the public some understanding of where the Commission typically looks at data when setting their recommendations and what we would look at in terms of our recommendations to the board for tuition and fees. Price indices are typically used by the Commission for Higher Education in assessing what their tuition recommendations might look like. Historically, the Commission has looked at 6 indices, but these are 3 that are pretty much the key drivers in that, and you can see here is the Higher Education Price Index, which focuses on an assessment of what is going on within the cost of higher education across the nation, and then the Consumer Price Index and the Midwest Consumer Price Index. And you can see there that for the most part, these percent changes in these indices are pretty much close to each other. The spike in 2021 and then the trends in 2022, 2023 during the pandemic are all trending in the same direction. And as you can see there in 2024, not to the levels we were pre-pandemic, but certainly trending downward in that direction. So these are just indicators that would help inform decisions around tuition and fee decisions for the next 2 years. Another area is Hoosier household income. It is important in my time, both at the state and here at IU, is what can Hoosiers afford and how much are Hoosiers making in terms of their household income and compared to the nation. And as you can see here over the 11-year period, Hoosier household income has been increasing over time and has actually been pacing closer to the national average in the last few years. Obviously, a goal I think for the state in my former role was to try to meet or eclipse that. But the trend here is that while you see the national household income kind of stabilizing at $80,000, you've seen Hoosier household income grow as an indicator of economic prosperity in the state. We mentioned state funding to IU, and as the president mentioned, in the upcoming two fiscal years, the state did reduce our operating appropriation by approximately $60 million. That came in two phases. One was a 5% reduction by the General Assembly as a result of updated revenue forecasts as part of the budget process, and then another 5% reduction that the state budget director can or is required to take for all state agencies, including public institutions. That resulted in that reduction in 2026 and 2027 of $60 million to our operating funds, taking us back to where we were in roughly about 2019. The thing I would note here is you can see these incremental increases in state funding, which again ties to the state's investment in higher education, but also the state's overall financial health. Certainly in 2024 and 2025, those were outstanding years for all of higher education. So to receive those reductions certainly is an impact, but again, as I said, it is not a reason for us to increase tuition to offset those losses. But did want to indicate for the public and the board that this is a pretty impactful reduction, and I will discuss more in depth about that during the budget discussion later today. We've been asked several times how our tuition and fees versus state funds compare to our overall revenue at IU, and this is just a chart that shows back prior to 2003. State funding actually made up a larger percentage than student tuition and fee revenue for Indiana University. But since 2003, that gap has widened. And this isn't just Indiana. This is nationally trends that we've seen in terms of funding of public institutions. But this is really just an indicator of the reliance that IU has on student tuition and fees and how the state has been funding Indiana University over the last 20, 30 years. And again, this isn't uncommon just for IU. If you looked at any other public institution, you would see this trend moving forward. So again, just data and metrics around where we receive our revenue and the important reliance that we have on tuition and fees and ensuring affordability for students. So around student affordability and some peer comparisons, as we thought about student affordability, we have to talk about the budget and what that means in terms of maintaining our 0% increase in resident tuition and mandatory fees, but also other factors that impact that decision. And so I wanted to highlight for the board and members of the public some of the budgetary highlights and considerations that we thought about. One focused on tuition and fee recommendations, but also, again, general student affordability and reducing and eliminating student debt. Again, the potential impact of federal funding, which is mostly around our indirect cost recovery revenue, and also direct grants that impact our ability to raise revenue as well as use that revenue for our operations. Again, I mentioned the $60 million impact on state operating, but also the state did not increase student financial aid. They held that flat, so that again adds additional pressure to students' ability to afford higher education in Indiana. Continued investment in the IU 2030 initiatives and programs, reviewing operational efficiencies, and I'll talk about that more again later this afternoon. We have briefed the board several times on our budget redesign, both at the administrative level and the campus level, and that continues to make an impact on our operating budget and how we structure our budget moving forward. And then we continue to work with the Indiana University Foundation to maximize the funds that are available for student scholarship and financial aid, and also operational support to ensure that the funds that donors have provided us are maximized and used as efficiently and effectively as we can, and continue to identify ways that we can grow that so that we diversify our revenue moving forward. As the president mentioned, we have a commitment to affordability and reducing student debt. I won't dwell too much on this chart, but as you can see here, Indiana resident undergraduate loan trend has decreased substantially since 2014. We would note that even with the state reductions, we will continue to invest in student success, as well as the 0% recommendation to ensure student affordability, and again, reducing the amount of debt that students graduate with at Indiana University. From a national comparison, this is really a great chart to indicate Indiana's historic focus on keeping tuition as low as possible for our resident students. We are on the right side of this chart, both figuratively and literally. This is a comparison of all the states in terms of their in-state tuition rates over the last 10 years compared to inflation. And so to be on the right side means that our growth, Indiana overall, growth in state tuition and fees has not grown at the same rate or higher than inflation. And so if you looked at all of the public institutions in Indiana, we have not increased tuition to the point where we would be beating inflation. In fact, we're 11% below that. And so that just again is an accolade to all of our public institutions, the state of Indiana, continuing to impress upon us to focus on student affordability and to ensure that any tuition increases are below inflation from a historical trend. So good news for Indiana on a national landscape that we are keeping up with our peers in terms of not increasing tuition above inflation trends. So a formal request for approval that will be done in a later session, but as the president noted, recommendations for the tuition and fees for the next 2 years. I would note that we had planned as part of our budget process to assume a 0% increase before the commission's recommendations came out. So President Whitten and leadership getting in front of that and then following the recommendations of the commission's fee structure and tuition structure. So for tuition for across all of our campuses, we are recommending a 0% increase for resident undergraduate students, a 0% increase for Indiana partner students. This is a program out of IU Indianapolis that provides a slightly discounted out-of-state rate for students that live in the adjoining states around Indiana to attend IU Indianapolis. As we noted, a 1% increase for non-resident undergraduate students, and then a 2% increase guidance for resident and non-resident graduate students. All of the graduate programs, again, as the president mentioned, hit the 2% except for the School of Medicine and the School of Optometry, who requested a 3% increase for School of Medicine and between a 3.5% and 4 3/4 increase for School of Optometry based on in-state and out-of-state rates. Mandatory fees, we do not differentiate resident versus non-resident in mandatory fees, so all mandatory fees across all campuses will see a 0% increase for the next 2 years. Program differentials at all campuses, these are fees related to specific degree programs within our schools and colleges. For undergraduate students, that will see a 0% increase for the next 2 years. And again, for graduate and professional program differentials, a 2% increase for the next 2 years. So again, following the commission's recommendation, but also some increases for our graduate programs and non-resident students, modest increases. Just for illustrative purposes, this doesn't include every single tuition and fee rate that we have across our campuses, but just for an example, you can see there are the 3 main campuses, Bloomington, IUI, and then the regionals. I will note to the board, all the regional tuition is the same. So whether you're at South Bend or Kokomo or Southeast, you pay the same amount of tuition and mandatory fees. You can see there that 0 increases for all resident students at all the campuses, and then the 1% increase for non-resident students. One of the things that we wanted to note is where is the revenue going that is generated from these increases, and all the campuses have indicated that that will be reinvested into student success, whether that's advising, counseling, reducing DFW rates, which has been a focus of the administration, as well as increasing retention. Also, there's investments at the School of Medicine around infrastructure and space, as they have needs in those areas, as well as technology. So the revenue we will receive off the graduate programs, as well as the non-resident, will be reinvested into student success to ensure that our students are being put first with regard to these investments. So with that, Mr. Chairman, happy to answer any questions.
I'm sorry, thank you. So there are not any questions, but we did allow that, if you will, you had questions submitted to our tuition forum email. And thank you for the submissions, first of all. The question focused on the reduction of IU revenues. Vice President Dudick, will you please address how this will affect students and if the administration is planning to solicit student feedback when appropriate?
Certainly. With the reduction in state appropriations, that was rather sudden. I will be blunt with the board. We really did not anticipate that until the end of April, so we had to react quickly to the $60 million reduction from the state. Thankfully, under the leadership of President Whitten, we were thinking about that earlier in terms of not only the impact of what state reductions might look like, but federal reductions. And so we began thinking through what immediate actions we could take, which I will go over during the budget presentation later this afternoon. What I would say is the impact on students is students are priority one of the university, and we need to continue to invest in them, whether it be through financial aid and support from IU Foundation or the revenues that the campuses have investing in students. And so the reductions that I'll talk about later today have really been focused on operations that don't impact students, that continue to support our students. But there is more we need to do to prepare for potential reductions in the future. And so the president has asked campus leaders to look at operational efficiencies and operational changes that can continue to address potential reductions from the federal side. But that working group is going to be engaging with many community members within IU, students, faculty, staff. So students will be involved in that process, to my understanding, and we'll be engaging with campus leaders as to what additional changes might be contemplated at the campus level to address future budget reductions. But I will say the budget reductions that we are experiencing now, that we've accounted for in the budget, do not impact student success or student engagement, and in fact, continue to double down on ensuring student success.
Trustee Bob.
Thank you, Jim Bopp. Of course, the proposal for the tuition is to hold steady for the next 2 years. But you've talked about a lot of efforts by the administration, by President Whitten, to make IU more efficient, more cost-effective, maybe focusing clearer on our mission. Where do you think we are in that process? Because my goal would be we reduce tuition. So how are we looking toward the future? Sounds like you've done a great job in accommodating the current situation, but do we have a lot of room there potentially to make IU more affordable?
I would say, Trustee Bob, yes, and that would be, I think, a goal of President Whitten and I, is to continue to make IU affordable. With recent legislative changes, as well as the challenges that the federal government has put in front of us, we have to react to that. We have to be, one, to ensure that we are not spending outside of our means, that we are generating the revenue we need to cover our costs, but ensuring that those costs are truly going to the core mission of the institution and serving the students. So there is more work to do, and the budget that I'll present later this afternoon is the first step in that. But there is more that we need to do to identify operational efficiencies, both administrative and academically, but engaging the IU community as well and ensuring that there is student success and that we are serving the state in terms of our educational offerings. But I would say there is more we can do, and we continue to examine that. And as President Whitten has charged the campus leaders through the Work Smarter initiative is to do just that. And that's that second phase of really being more nimble and thinking about what we can do at the campus level and the administrative level to address those concerns you mentioned, Trustee Bopp.
Are there any more questions? Well, hearing no further comments, I'm going to adjourn this forum, and thank you very much. Appreciate those who joined us through broadcast. We are adjourned from the tuition forum, and we'll start the June meeting. We're moving to the regularly scheduled June meeting. This meeting is called to order. We have a lot to cover this afternoon, and we will begin with our committee meeting, followed by our business meeting. With that, I call on Chair Langham to lead the Academic Affairs and University Policies Committee meeting. Chair Langham.
Thank you, Chair Buckner, and also welcome new trustees. We're delighted to have you. It's exciting, and I know you're going to do great things. I will now begin the Academic Affairs and University Policies Committee. I'd like to start by inviting Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor, Chair Raul Shrivastava to the table, to the big table. Thank you for joining us. We'll begin with personnel. Today's approval includes our standard personnel items, plus promotions and tenure. Would you like to discuss or comment on any of these items?
Thank you, Trustee Langham. Welcome to all the new trustees. Thank you for your service, and we look forward to working with you. The information is in your packets. There's nothing new I need to add there. Happy to answer your questions.
Great. Well, with that, approval is requested for personnel items per the appendix to the agenda. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Do we, second. Are there any comments? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, approved. Next on our agenda are new degrees. We have seen 7 in front of us today. Provost Shrivastava, would you like to discuss these?
Certainly. Thank you again. On behalf of the Academic Leadership Council and President Whitten, I am pleased to recommend 7 new degree offerings for your approval. 6 of these proposed degrees would be offered on the IU Bloomington campus, and the other one would be provided on the IU Indianapolis campus. The first new degree is a Bachelor of Science in Business Intelligence and Data Science at IU Bloomington. This new degree, jointly offered by the Kelley School of Business and the Luddy School of Informatics, Computing, and Engineering at IU Bloomington, aims to equip students with the skills to identify and solve complex business problems using data-driven approaches. The demand for data science is growing, and its needs are ubiquitous across virtually every domain. The degree supports IUB 2030 strategic plan by offering an integrated alternative to dual degrees, enhancing both career readiness and contributing to economic development in Indiana and beyond. The graduates from these degrees will be prepared for careers as data analysts, business intelligence developers, data scientists, and all of these address state-level goals for economic mobility and talent retention. While designed for immediate workforce entry, the program also prepares students for advanced study in fields such as business, finance, information systems, and data science. The second proposed degree is a Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering in the Luddy School of Informatics, Computing, and Engineering at IU Bloomington. With this degree, IU Bloomington will gain a computer engineering program, again supporting IUB 2030 strategic plans, academic and research excellence goals by contributing to announced priorities in developing high-tech degrees in engineering, robotics, and artificial intelligence. Developed in response to state and national demands for skilled professionals in computing, electronics, and digital systems, this degree prepares graduates to contribute in initiatives like the CHIPS and Science Act, as well as the White House Artificial Intelligence Program. The 120 credit hour program combines engineering, computing, and general education coursework, strongly emphasizing high-performance computing, AI, cybersecurity, and emerging technologies like quantum computing. While 13 other institutions in Indiana offer computer engineering degrees, this will be IU Bloomington's first. It will build on the existing information systems engineering program and will leverage Luddy's strengths in advancing computing and interdisciplinary integration. Students will gain practical experience through a capstone project and will benefit from articulation plans to support transfer students from various two-year colleges in the state. Graduates will be prepared for roles in engineering and tech sectors, as well as for advanced degrees in a variety of disciplines. The third degree for consideration is a Bachelor of Science in Global Media in the Media School at IU Bloomington. This degree blends journalism, strategic communication, and international studies, offering students a unique academic experience at the intersection of global affairs and media practice. Students will gain hands-on skills in global reporting, media creation, and strategic communication while developing regional expertise and foreign language proficiency through coursework in international studies. The program draws on the strengths of the Media School and the Hamilton Lugar School of Global and International Studies, once again aligning with IU's 2030 strategic plan to deliver globally focused, career-oriented undergraduate education. Graduates will be prepared for careers in global media, in communications and international organizations, as well as for advanced academic or professional graduate programs. By integrating 2 traditionally separate disciplines into a single coherent degree, the program offers a streamlined alternative to double majors, increasing accessibility and completion rates for students with global media aspirations. The next degree is a Bachelor of Science in Media Advertising in the Media School at IU Bloomington. The BS in Media Advertising will meet the growing demand for advertising coursework at IU Bloomington and give students deeper, more specialized training for careers in the field. The popularity of the current media advising concentration, it's buried within an existing degree, is very easy to see because it has more than 900 students already. It makes a strong case for elevating this to a standalone degree. The new BS will offer a structure that better supports the curriculum and professional learning experiences while providing students with more major coursework and clearer career pathways than the existing concentration in a different degree allows. The degree responds to industry demand and peer benchmarking, position IU competitively in the media education landscape. The next recommended degree is a Bachelor of Science in Public Relations, also in the media school at IU Bloomington. The current public relations concentration is housed within the Bachelor of Arts in Journalism degree. It must follow the accreditation guidelines of the Accrediting Council on Education in Journalism and Mass Communication. This makes it more challenging to attract students interested in the public relations part, but are not necessarily interested in journalism more broadly. Moving public relations to a standalone Bachelor of Science degree will give the media school greater flexibility, allowing for stronger alignment with the new BS in media advertising and the school's audience and analytics teaching areas. With faculty, facilities, and equipment already in place, the program is designed to accommodate students transitioning from an existing concentration with a projected enrollment of over 300 students by the 5th year of the program. The next recommended degree is a Master of Science in Media Leadership and Business, also in IU Bloomington. Media, as you know, and certainly having you here is great, Trustee Steele. It plays a central role in today's marketplace, and organizations need to innovative and ethical and business savvy leaders. The new MS in Media Leadership and Business, offered through a partnership between the Media School and the Kelley School of Business, will prepare students to lead in this fast-changing landscape. Unlike existing programs in that university, what do you call it, up north, this one, offered through a partnership, will be a more comprehensive master's-level curriculum with a strong business foundation. It fills a gap in IU's graduate offerings and enhances its competitive edge. The one-year program includes internships and collaborative projects with media companies, helping to build industry partnerships and connect students with Indiana-based employers. The program targets recent graduates and working professionals seeking to transition into or advance within media leadership roles, contributing to Indiana's economic and social mobility goals. The last recommended degree is a Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Sciences. This one is proposed in the School of Sciences at IU Indianapolis. This degree addresses Indiana's growing demand for skilled biomedical workforce by preparing students for careers in healthcare, biotechnology, and biomedical research, and supporting pathways to professional health programs like medicine, dentistry, or genetic counseling. The program draws on strengths from the IU School of Medicine, the Fairbanks School of Public Health, the School of Liberal Arts, and the Departments of Biology and Chemistry to offer a comprehensive interdisciplinary education. The curriculum includes key prerequisites for graduate and professional health programs, such as advanced biology, chemistry, biochemistry, and relevant social sciences, and is enhanced by research opportunities, clinical shadowing, and internships, which prepare students for clinical and research-focused graduate study. Again, aligned with IU Indianapolis's Vision 2030 and Indiana's Hoosier Opportunities and Possibilities Through Education, or the HOPE agenda, the program supports economic mobility, talent retention, and the development of highly trained STEM and healthcare workforce. These are the new degrees being proposed at this time, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Wow, that's a lot. One quick question on the engineering degree. As I think about other universities in the state that have a lot around engineering, what kind of growth can we expect over the next 5 years with those degrees?
This is the first of 5 engineering degrees we hope to build in the coming years. I think this will be a major driver for enrollment, but it is also a degree area that is necessary for us as a comprehensive institution to really drive growth across the board. It'll promote efforts in research, in IU Innovates, all kinds of other overall goals that we have. But I do feel we can expect anywhere from 500 to 1,000 new students over the next few years in these
And
degree programs.
I would add to that, beyond the uplifting it'll do for our institution, frankly, it's wonderful for our state. You can't produce enough engineers in the state of Indiana for the workforce.
Great point. Oh, Jim.
Thank you. On these new programs, as you know, because I know you're dealing with this, there's a recent Indiana statute that sets a minimal expected number of students to graduate over a 3-year period or then be subject to review. Do these new degrees, have you all done an assessment that they will comply with that and certainly meet these, I think, very modest minimal standards?
Yes, for all new degrees, we do a full market analysis to understand the potential job growth, both in the region, in the state, and nationally. We use national databases to benchmark that, and a degree never comes to this stage if we are not confident that it will not only meet but significantly exceed the threshold set by the commission and the state statute.
Very good. Second, cost. Is there a cost estimate for each of these degrees?
Yes, for some, like the media ones, we already have programs in place. We have faculty and resources. For others, that will require a new investment, engineering being one of our biggest one. A few months ago, we announced a pretty significant investment to grow our engineering here, and that is something we are committed to doing over the next few years.
So you're satisfied with this will be cost effective, in other words?
Yes, I am.
All right. I was curious about one thing you said, and I noted this in the proposals. There were some of these degrees that said, well, we won't need additional faculty. We already have faculty who could staff this. I was wondering what they were doing, if they have this available time to take on these new responsibilities.
Well, they are already offering those courses. They are just done as a concentration within a degree. And so now by making it an independent degree, we feel we will actually grow the enrollment and do it at a larger scale than what is happening right now.
That makes sense. Over the last 5 years, has anyone recommended the termination of any degree program?
Yes, we have several that we do as a matter of routine. They often come to this group for approval, and again, particularly in response to new legislation, we are already working on a plan for several more to be eliminated over the next year.
Yes, and I understand we have a report due June 23rd?
Yes, there is.
Do we know yet how many degree programs are at risk?
We are still working on that number, and I'm sure with President Whitten, we'll be sharing that information soon.
All right. But I just wonder about the statutory standards are really, in my opinion, minimal. I mean, you graduate 15 students over 3 years for a particular bachelor's degree. I mean, that's 5 a year. These are really minimal standards. You have 44,000 students at Bloomington and over 80,000, including the regional campuses, et cetera. It seems like there's really needs to be a hard look at this.
I believe the minimum is 15 a year, not 5 a year. That's how the commission has clarified that number for us. For 15 a year, most programs or most students take 4 years to graduate. So at any time, you have actually 60 students as a minimum that you're servicing. But I agree that the numbers suggested are fairly reasonable, and it does not seem out of the ordinary for me to meet that benchmark.
And I'm glad you sought that clarification, because I don't see annual in here anywhere, you know. And so it seemed like it was over 3 years, 15, but if it's over 3 years, 15
Per
each year.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay. Approval is requested for the new degrees per the appendix to the agenda. Is there a motion for approval? So moved. Second?
Second.
Okay, any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Really exciting degrees. Send any engineers my way, please. Next on our agenda are the campus updates. Will our campus leaders please join us? And joining us today are Vice President for Regional Campuses and Online Education, Ken Awama, Executive Vice President and IU Indianapolis Chancellor, Latha Ramchand, Executive Vice President for University Clinical Affairs, Jay Hess, and a big welcome to our new Bloomington Chancellor, David Reingold. I know President Witten will be providing a more formal introduction in a moment, but welcome. Thank you all for joining us, and please proceed.
Can you hear me? Oh, good. So I'm always glad to lead off, you know that. And I always try to start with a bang. And so this bang is the confetti cannon from one of our regional campus commencement at IU Southeast. So happy, following all our commencement at regional campus to be able to celebrate that in picture for everyone here. We're going to focus today on graduation, but also with metrics, with also some career and workforce outcomes as well. So let's start with 4-year and 6-year graduation rates for the regional campuses for first-time, full-time bachelor degree seeking students. Rates in highest over from 8 to 10 years, right, for 4-year and 6-year graduation rates. At 40.1% hit the 40% mark for 6-year, and at 27.1 for 4-year. For many of our regional students who have multiple family and job responsibilities, while we have work to do, it's gratifying to see that we are moving in the right direction on these numbers. So really happy to report this. Out of one of the notable programs that is helping to drive these numbers, these upward trajectory numbers, is the 21st Century Scholar graduation rates, and that particular program. As you can see, the 4-year grad rates for the 21st Century Scholars exceed non-21st Century Scholars by about 5 percentage points, and for the 6-year, slightly higher as well, showing the success of that program. And it's important to note our graduating students stay and work locally. And it's something that is part of our statement for regional campuses, right, in our mission. Across our regionals, we're close to 80% who work in the state and our regional service counties, and another small amount going to further their studies and education as well, too. So these are stellar numbers of our service to state and how we drive the economy and the workforce back to the state of Indiana. I'm going to focus a little bit on each campus program that's driving graduation outcomes as well. So let me start with IU Northwest. And again, let's go to the 21st Century Scholars Program. They particularly high metrics outcomes. Graduation rates are 14.4 for 4-year, 2 6-year percentage points higher than those non-21st century students. Part of that is they have a participation high rates in learning communities at IU Northwest, 28% higher than non-21st century scholar students in terms of, cohort-based learning communities of our students. And they have access to supports of other campus programs as a holistic approach to student success, as well as an efficiency approach as well, too. So our National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics, okay? So This is the association that we are part of, and it's a great association. High level, by the way, Scottie Pippen came from an NAIA college. Just let's mention, there you go, some thumbs up. This is a picture of IU Southeast, World Series bound in 2020, celebrating. They had a 12-run comeback in the bottom of the 9th inning. 12 in one, bottom of the 9th inning, beating Indiana Tech, yay, and that was in May 2024. But as you can see, the 6-year graduation rate for IU Southeast student athletes is 36 percentage points higher than its overall beginner cohort graduation rate, how we take care of our student athletes. Across all regionals, the 6-year graduation rate for student athletes is 27 percentage points higher than the overall beginner cohort graduation rate. This is indicative of the power of athletic programs at the regional campuses with our combined 52 teams. Student athlete, but we pursue championships as well, so. IU Kokomo, let me shift a little bit to campus programs driving state workforce demands and state workforce needs. One of the highlights at IU Kokomo is Tomorrow's Teachers program. It gives local high school juniors and seniors a career head start through dual credit courses taught by IU Kokomo faculty, and hands-on experience for the students in the high schools. More than a third of participating high school students in this program from local high schools end up coming to IU Kokomo as well, too, so it's an enrollment driver for us additionally. And Tomorrow's Teacher is indicative of the driver of IU Kokomo's Grow Your Own approach, which approximately 90% of our School of Education graduates stay in the region and the state to work in their field of study. It's a remarkable statistic. Shifting over to IU East and its highly successful online psychology program. If you look at the picture over there, that is Sarah Marshall, IU East psychology and criminal justice major and presenter at the regionals at the Rotunda event. For those who don't know, it was an incredible event where at the Capitol, where we brought our students, highlighting student research, helping our communities, connected to our communities. Workforce demand for psychologists in Indiana continues to outpace the national average. Online BS program enrollment at IU East increased 78% over the past 75 years, with the number of graduates increasing each year as well, too. 84% of the program students live in Indiana, demonstrating its incredible value for student access and opportunity and service to state. And to the extent that we care about ratings and rankings, ranked number 6 nationally by U.S. News and World Report as well, too. So very proud of that program. And I'm going to finish with South Bend and its nursing program. If you look to the right again at the regionals Rotunda event, that's Alex Herr, our IU South Bend School of Nursing and keynote student speaker at the regionals at the Rotunda event. She's fantastic. It's an indication, though, of the nursing program, the vibrant nursing program, which consistently produces the highest number of graduates in the College of Health and Sciences with a NCLEX passage rate of over 90%. That's the licensure. In fact, last year was 97.8. We're at 98%. But it's 90% over the last 10 years. Over 80% of the graduates from IU South Bend professional health programs remain in the state and the region in health-related fields, again, driving the local economy. I'm going to end with the best news ever, right? So exactly what I'm talking about. Alex, a month ago, accepted a job as a nurse in the South Bend region. So this is what we're doing. And so good outcome for Alex as well, too. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Great lead off.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our new trustees. Would love to invite all of you to our campus at IU Indianapolis, and of course to all our trustees to come visit us as often as you like. We would love to have you. The next few slides pertain to IU Indianapolis. With IU Indianapolis, just by way of context, the numbers I'm going to share, at least on the first slide, include the campuses at Columbus as well as Fort Wayne. So it's in the Indianapolis campus, Columbus, and Fort Wayne, and these numbers are composites of the graduation rates over these 3 campuses. The real story here in my mind is we have work to do. We have good work to do, and we're being very intentional about it, reminding everyone that the changes we make this year will have impact 4 years from now, 6 years from now. So we're hoping to see that impact translate into actual numbers in the future. And I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing. But really the story here is we have a lot of good work to do. Breaking it down by just the 4-year rates across these campuses, both Columbus and Fort Wayne are smaller campuses with about 1,000 students each. So some of the volatility you see there is driven by one or two students, and that makes a big impact on these percentage numbers, as well as the impact of COVID, which affected the Columbus campus more so than any of the other campuses. Fort Wayne, they had some unique challenges in terms of their first 2 years being taught by Purdue, Fort Wayne, and now all that has changed. So we're hoping to see some really good numbers going forward. The 6-year graduation rates, again, the story is really the same. We have work to do to improve these rates. What are we doing about that? What are we doing to make this a focus for us at IU Indianapolis? That is our focus. Strategies we have put in place in the last year to improve graduation rates. First, I would say focused interventions in heavily enrolled classes and a reduction in failure rates. Failure rates when students get a D, an F, or a withdraw, which is a W. So we find that research shows that the first F that a student gets, if they get it in their first year, they're 38% more likely to fail and drop out. And this happens more so in large classes with enrollments that are in excess of 200 students. So we're bringing more resources to bear on these classes, faculty support, as well as staff advising support, and it's really encouraging to see the improvements that we're seeing in the last year as a result of some of these initiatives. The next one is what I call early struggles, and that students sometimes have when they don't know what major they want. They come thinking they need to major in engineering, and they realize at the end of the first year that maybe it's psychology. And the transitions, when that happens, are not always seamless. So we are working with our advising staff to make sure that we provide what we call holistic advising. So we are proactive in terms of before the student begins to show signs of failure, can we reach out to them to provide better support and help them know that they can move across majors if they do it quickly and they have the right guidance. And then, of course, the third one, which in my mind is perhaps the most important change we're bringing to bear, is maximizing experiential opportunities, work-based learning, and embedding career competencies into curricula. Real focus on making sure that our students have an opportunity to get an internship, a co-op, so that by the time they graduate, they have a job offer in hand. 75% of our students at the Indianapolis campus work anyway, but they don't always work in areas that are aligned with their degrees. And so what we're doing now is connecting them with industry opportunities that are aligned with their degree choice. And that has shown to have huge impact. I know our students appreciate that, and we will see more of that. We're already seeing the impact of these strategies on our re-enrollment rates. So the graduation rates that I showed, those are 4- and 6-year rates. But a leading indicator of whether we're doing the right thing or not is going to be, are we getting all our students who registered in the fall of 2024 to come back this year, or are they dropping out? And we're seeing real good progress in terms of the students who are returning between the fall and the spring. And between last fall and this fall, the numbers are about 5% higher. So these strategies that I talked about are beginning to have impact. And the goal is that if we focus student success and these metrics, graduation rate, in terms of every decision we make, then I think we will see much better numbers in the coming years. The next slide is sort of piggybacking on what Kenny shared, which is really our service to our state through the workforce needs. In other words, our goal at IU Indianapolis is focused entirely on serving the workforce needs of our state. 84% of our students, before I go into those numbers, by way of context, 84% of our students are in-state, and 90% of them will live and work in Indiana after they graduate. So we have a huge opportunity to serve the workforce needs. What you see in that table, which is a little busy, is in the first 2 columns are degrees that are in high demand in Indiana. And as was discussed a minute ago by Rahul and the questions from Trustee Bob, as much as we are eliminating degrees with low enrollment, we're also working intentionally to create and to grow degrees that have significant placement workforce-related opportunities in Indiana. So the first two columns are from the in.gov website, and just a sample of the professions that are in high demand in Indiana and the degrees that are required in these professions. So as you can see, nurse practitioners, data scientists, managers, it's across the board, and of course, health informatics. These are in high demand, these jobs in these areas, and the degrees needed. In the last column is what I call the supply side. The first two columns are what's in demand, and the last column is the supply of graduates from IU Indianapolis, and that's where you see the enrollment growth in these programs. The 3-year average has been pretty significant. In addition, we're adding degrees that are focused on meeting workforce demand. Some of the degrees that were, one of the degrees that was presented today, the bachelor's in biomedical science, is really speaking to this need, and we've done some more, added some more degrees in the last few years, entirely focused on meeting the workforce needs of Indiana. So with that, unless there are questions or comments, I'm happy to hand it over to my colleague, Dean J. Hess.
Good afternoon and welcome to the new trustees. So I'll be giving a brief update on the, Jay Hess, Dean of the School of Medicine.
Thank you.
So we have some very good news in terms of graduation rates. Our 4-year graduation rate for the School of Medicine, and the data here is looking at the cohorts that started in the years below. So our 4-year graduation rate for the School of Medicine cohort starting in 2021 was 91.3%, and our overall graduation rate was an all-time high of 97.3%. So with our aging population in Indiana and across the country, there's a lot more surgeries now and a lot more need for anesthesia services. There's a critical shortage of anesthesiologists. So in 2017, our Department of Anesthesiology started a new training program for anesthesiology assistants. And this is a very efficient and relatively quick way of addressing this critical shortage. So this program has grown by about 75%. It's a 28-month program that is a very intensive program that's both classroom teaching, but importantly, clinical placements. And the students receive a Master of Science in anesthesia. And you can see how the enrollment's grown from 12 to 21 and the overall retention rate of 95%. These graduates really are doing very well in terms of placement. So 100% of the graduates in this program were placed into jobs. Currently, there's tremendous competition for these graduates. 62% so far have stayed in a state, and 100% of them have passed their certification exam. And we expect this program is going to continue to grow as there's a tremendous amount of demand. All right, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is David Reingold.
Can I introduce you first?
Oh, sure. By all means.
Thank you. We had a nice campus-wide reception for David on his first day last week, and so we had the opportunity to introduce him to the campus. But if I could take just a moment and introduce you to our trustees, that would be wonderful. Of course, David is our a new senior leader who's going to present the campus report momentarily for IU Bloomington moving forward. And so, as I said, I just want to officially introduce him to everyone at the big table, I guess as we're describing it today. So it was just a year ago, in June of 24, at the board meeting where the trustees voted to reestablish an IU Bloomington chancellor position. So we subsequently appointed a committee that was a search committee that was co-chaired by Professor David Daleke, who's the dean of the graduate school at IU Bloomington, as well as Professor Danielle Desawal, who is the president of the Bloomington Faculty Council on the Bloomington campus, and they did a terrific job leading the committee through a very thorough national search for this position as well. And so I thank them for their work. And so in March of this year, we had the good fortune to get to announce that David Reingold, who served IU Bloomington for 18 years as a faculty member and as an administrator in the O'Neill School of Public and Environmental Affairs, was selected to fill the executive vice president and chancellor role. And then, as I said, he's been, I don't know, is this day 9?
I've stopped counting.
You stopped counting. It's a good sign. That's a good sign. So I just want to comment that reestablishing the chancellor position really provides critical additional leadership bandwidth for the Bloomington campus. And this structural change is going to allow our outstanding provost, Rahul Srivastava, that you all just heard from a few moments ago, to focus even more fully on our academic mission, specifically teaching and research and faculty affairs. And I want to make sure I take a moment to thank Rahul for his exemplary service in leading both the academic and the operational sides of the campus over the past several years. And I know Rahul is very happy to have you on campus as well, David. As Chancellor Reingold will oversee key areas of campus operations as well as external engagement. So his portfolio is going to include student affairs, campus budgeting and fiscal planning, facilities and space management, public safety for the campus, and of course, most important of all, the overall student experience. I think this leadership model really better positions us to meet the evolving needs of our students and our state, and to really plan for the long-term future of IU Bloomington with clarity and with purpose and with focus. So David's return is really more than a homecoming, although we are glad to welcome you home. I guess I did not mention that in the ensuing decade or so, he was in West Lafayette providing important leadership for Purdue, but now he's home again at IU. But it's more than a homecoming. It's also a strategic and inspiring step forward for our campus in Bloomington. And he has a deep understanding of IU's culture. He has a proven ability to bring people together, and his genuine, and I mean genuine love for this university, I think make him the ideal person to help us lead the Bloomington campus into the future where we aspire for this campus. And so I'm confident that under David's leadership, we are going to continue to elevate our mission, we are going to strengthen our community, and of course, expand our impact in Indiana and beyond as well. And so now it's my pleasure to officially welcome Executive Vice President and Chancellor David Reingold to deliver the first of what will be many, many campus updates for IU Bloomington.
Thank you, President Whitten, and good afternoon, members of the Board of Trustees. It's a pleasure to be here. President Whitten, thank you for those warm remarks and for your trust and confidence in me in assuming this position. And I look forward to working to continue to lift up our flagship campus here at Indiana University in Bloomington. So with that, I have the privilege of going last on the updates as it relates to our graduation requirements. And much like my esteemed colleagues, we have graduation rates, 4- and 6-year rates for the Bloomington campus on a cohort-based model. And as you can see here, about 8 and 10 graduates finish in 6 years, and I'm sorry, 8 and 10 finish in 6 years, and 7 and 10 finish in 4 years. Now, you see a sort of plateau. The movement on this particular metric is extraordinarily difficult. I believe a lot of the strategies that we have in place around student success are going to yield dividends. If you put this in context in terms of where we stand with respect to other Big Ten flagship campuses, you can see we are 15 out of 18, which is not where we want to be. I'd like to see us at least in the top third. There's no reason why we couldn't be there right with our colleagues up at Madison, Wisconsin, or right around Ohio State in the high 80s. That movement from the low 80s to the high 80s on this particular metric is a bit like, I'm not a mountain climber, but I do have a few friends that are. I think it's a little bit like ascending that final part of the mountain. It is steep and it is challenging, but I think we are up for the task, and we're looking forward to making progress on this particular metric. So much like Latha and Indianapolis, we have work to do. And looking forward to advancing and working with the provost and with our academic leaders and our enrollment management team and all of our academic advisors on how we're going to close the gap between where we are right now and where we want to be. All right, so moving on to our workforce efforts and our new initiatives around trying to meet the workforce needs of the state. The provost mentioned this historic investment that was announced in the spring to create new engineering degrees, $75 million. Thank you very much for your support on the computer engineering proposal, which was just presented. We have other proposals that will come before you on robotics, bioengineering, nanoengineering, microelectronics, and electrical engineering. As was mentioned previously, these are critical efforts to both evolve the campus in terms of its comprehensive nature, but also in terms of our, and most importantly, our ability to introduce degrees that can serve Indiana's workforce moving forward and align the flagship campus with the economic development and growth areas that we all believe are essential to the future of the state. So it's a brief report. That is my report. I'm mindful I'm last. I certainly welcome any questions or any discussion.
Welcome. Thank you all for being up here, and we'll move on from campus updates then. Our next item is our faculty spotlight, and it is my pleasure to welcome Distinguished Professor and Linda and Jack Gill Chair in Biomolecular Science, Richard DeMarchi. Welcome.
It is my pleasure to extend an additional warm welcome to our presenter this afternoon. And as we celebrate the rich tradition of excellence across our campus, I'd like to take this moment to highlight one of our most accomplished faculty members who also happens to be an alumnus, having earned his PhD here at IU Bloomington in biochemistry. Dr. Richard DeMarchi is a distinguished professor of chemistry in the Linda and Jack Gill Chair in Biomolecular Sciences at IU Bloomington. He is a member of both the National Academy of Medicine and the National Inventors Hall of Fame. He is a former group vice president at Eli Lilly and Company and later at Novo Nordisk. His academic research has broadened the understanding of glucogen physiology and the discovery of single molecule multimode agonists for the treatment of diabetes and obesity. He is recognized as a global spokesperson for macromolecular medicines. Professor DeMarchi's career has been defined by groundbreaking contributions to peptide science, drug discovery, and the translation of research into life-changing therapeutics. His work has contributed to the development of several widely used pharmaceutical drugs, including rDNA-derived Humalog, R-glucogen. Did I get that right? Close. And Forteo. With more than 100 U.S. patents and over 250 reviewed publications, and 8 biotech companies co-founded since 2003, Professor DeMarchi exemplifies the translational research for societal benefit at its finest. Most recently, he received the 2023 AAAS as BOMIC Breakthrough Award for GLP-1 drugs. As a faculty member, his impact as an educator has been significant. He has mentored 18 doctoral students and 21 postdoctoral PhD scientists since joining IU in 2003. From 2003 to 2010, he taught more than 1,000 undergraduates in upper-level biochemistry. We are fortunate to have him as a part of our academic community and joining us today. Please, Professor DeMarchi.
Thank you, David. Thank you, President Whitten, for the invitation.
There you go.
And thank you for the invitation, and even more importantly, the great support that I have received under your leadership and the 20 years that I have been here. This is a very different setting for me, right? I don't typically lecture in such a community, so bear with me. It's a half-century journey from the time that I started as a student, and it was under this heading of the legendary Paul Simon challenging us to go forth and do something that creates great value for society. Not just employing education and knowledge, but creating it and creating new direction for how we can improve medicine and how we can create economic prosperity. The next slide is just to capture, do I do this? Yep, there we go. It's just to capture the fact that there are many medicines that have miraculous properties, right? Life-saving properties, life-altering properties, and each of us have taken them. Things such as morphine, penicillin, estrogen, testosterone. And my goal had been to create a new form of medicine, and that is molecules that were much larger than these traditional medicines that we typically take by the oral route, macromolecules. 10 times, 100 times the size of these molecules. And what you see here, a class of these that I had championed during my days at Eli Lilly. Coming back to Indiana from my fellowship at the Rockefeller institution, where I worked with a fellow who went on to win the Nobel Prize in chemistry, to create the chemistry that would allow us to do this. Because up until that point in time, you'd have to extract these from blood, from urine, from pancreas, from brain. And that did not provide the opportunity to optimize them in the way that we've gone about optimizing small molecules for use as medicines. Humalog became Lilly's largest selling product at one point in time, reaching over 10 million insulin-dependent diabetics and selling over $50 billion over its proprietary life. Forteo is parathyroid hormone used for treating osteoporosis, a true bone-building drug for women in later years of life. And glucagon, synthetic glucagon, is used to treat life-threatening hypoglycemia, certainly well known to insulin-dependent diabetics. I suspect I will be best known for this accomplishment that was recognized by the AS last year, an accomplishment amongst all scientific accomplishments, not just chemistry, not just medicine, but in fact all fields of science. The Webb telescope having been the prior year's winner, and it pertains, or at least initiated, with work that I was doing in Lilly in the late 1990s, where in collaboration with Professor Suat Efendik at the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm, Sweden, we identified that this class of medicines, GLP-1 agonists, could actually lower body weight and treat diabetics in maturity onset patients. That formed a patent that was issued to Lilly. You can see it was filed in 1997 and largely lay dormant for 20 years. That's the challenge of being too far ahead of a field. The American Medical Association didn't declare obesity a disease until 2014, 20 years later. And the fear was that these molecules would not have a big enough impact, but also that patients would not be willing to take an injection. How prophetic, huh? And so as you go to the next slide, it's the recognition of where universities sit in this value chain. The creation of new knowledge. Very quickly, GLP-1 has become antiquated. And the work that I have been doing here at Indiana University that started in 2003, because I was anxious to get on with the future in a way that others were not, is what you see here in this next slide. We're working with Professor Matthias Chupp, a physician, pharmacologist at the University of Cincinnati. We identified that we could integrate two hormones into a single molecule to create greater efficacy. First with glucagon, later with a hormone called gastric intestinal peptide, GIP, and then finally integrating all three into a single molecule. What does this look like? These are results that Lilly had published using Zepbound. You'll see it on TV. You'll know it as Mounjaro if you're treating diabetics with it. It is built upon this technology of using GIP and GLP-1 as a single molecule, and it exceeds the efficacy of GLP-1 alone by approximately a third. 15% body weight becomes approximately 20% body weight. What does that look like as we extend it to a triple agonist? That is this ability to, in essence, take a molecular Rubik's Cube and organize it so that you can have high potency selectivity against three different hormones, a master key that opens multiple doors. Well, now you're achieving as much as 25% decrease in body weight, and at the end of the year, those subjects are still losing body weight. So as they continue, you would expect that they would do even better than this. This is not simply 1 + 1 + 1 = 3, because 2 of those hormones were not predicted to work in this way. It's only in concert with GLP-1 that GIP has activity, and it's only in concert with GLP-1 and GIP that glucagon can be used as an agonist, not as an antagonist to block activity. It's the concert of activities, and that's the work that we've been recognized. This is what it looks like when a patient loses more than 25% of their body weight. I've met many of these subjects, and the most common question they ask of me is the medicine going to stop working? And as one grabbed me and in tears said to me, I just can't go back to where I was. Recognize that many of these patients not only have excess body weight, they have diabetes, they have hypertension, they have lip abnormalities, they have sleep apnea. So this is an incredible advance in our ability to manage excess body weight the way we have traditionally managed excess glucose, excess cholesterol, excess blood pressure, and it's just the beginning. And that's where our work continues, and I'm going to conclude on this and the next slide, just recognizing that these molecules have decreased cardiovascular risk, cardiovascular adverse outcomes, deaths, myocardial infarctions by 20%, which is phenomenal. But it means that 80% of the problem still exists, right? And that is what we continue to be focused on. Diabetes was the economic incentive for people to discover these drugs. There was not an economic incentive to develop drugs for obesity until we saw the decrease in body weight in diabetics, and it became an independent indication. That's why you see Ozempic, Wegovy, same drug, 2 different indications. Why you see Mounjaro, Zepbound, same drug, two different indications. And as we begin to treat these large population of individuals, what we've come to realize is it has additional benefits, right? Treatment of fatty liver disease, treatment of chronic kidney disease, sleep apnea, addiction disorders, and possibly even cognition, as Novo's study using Rybelsus in Alzheimer's disease will report at the end of the year. I have started 8 companies in the time that I've been associated with Indiana University. 4 of them have been purchased by the likes of J&J, Novo, Roche. 2 of them are public entities doing very well, and the last 2 were started 18 months ago, one funded by Google Ventures and one funded by Fraser and Versant. It is focused on trying to convert the pharmaceutical industry to an industry that is focused on treating disease to something that also improves health, strengthens muscle to treat frailty in later years, and it lengthens certainly health span, but possibly even lifespan as we try to make 90s the new 70s, because here I stand with you at 72 years of age and still wanting to continue this. Amongst all of these molecules, amongst all of these companies, my greatest pride is in the students. That's our legacy. And I challenge each and every one of them with the words of Da Vinci in telling us that those that do not surpass their mentors are mediocre. Thank you for the opportunity to visit.
So,
No, I think I'm like many in the room. First of all, humbled by your presence, greatly humbled by what you do, because this is one of the opportunities that I can say a little bit of my own thought process. One of the things I think we do terrific is we do terrific research. What you've managed to do is do that, convert it, and help mankind at the same time. And helping Hoosiers and beyond is just a huge part of what I think the way we have to look at what we bring to the table. We do it every day by making sure our students grow and those kind of things, but challenging ourselves to find avenues to continue to try to be supportive of just our lives, the lives of those around us. I'm humbled to be in your presence.
Well, thank you. I'm humbled to receive those comments. I was here as a graduate student cheering you on to those great years.
I'm just with a basketball.
And to be in
You got a world.
this hall reminds me of the great soccer teams, the great swimming teams, the great track teams that have existed. There has been equally great science, and unfortunately, it's not as well appreciated, right? 3 notable biologists that were associated with this university have won Nobel Prizes, right? And one of them was Jim Watson of Watson and Crick Frame, who trained here as a student. They were the ones who recruited the faculty that set the excellence, that recruited me as a foreigner to this state to come to Indiana. I did not know that I'd be here as long as I have, and I'm delighted to be here and make the contributions that I have. But it has been an army of people that have contributed. And 50 years after starting, I'm as motivated in doing what I still do. I jokingly say I only work half days, 7 to 7.
So,
Thank you.
if I might, no, Richard, sorry, I'm just going to jump in real quick. I'm Cindy Lucchese. I was a lowly manager with you at Lilly. We were on the park tutor board together. You may not remember me. I was the head. You do, head of the audit committee. Who remembers that person? But and then Fritz French is just a very dear friend of mine. Has been since I went to college. But what I was coming around to, I have just admired you for so many years, and we're so fortunate to have you. My question is, what more could we do to encourage more people like you or accelerate these inventions? Is there anything that we can do to help there?
Well, I've tried to maintain a low profile despite all the recognition I've received because it's not one person, right? All of us are smarter than any one of us, but I'm not sure I've done a service to recruiting the local community to how exciting it is to be a part of this. To be 50 years into this and to be in as much demand and as excited about what I'm doing is a phenomenal career. How do we encourage students to see that and be about it? So thank you so much for those kind comments.
Thank you.
Okay.
Quick question.
Oh,
So you
please.
started 4 companies, you said, and then sold the companies. What's your secret sauce to connect to the industry?
Yeah. So
How can we
all of
promote
the
more of
work.
that?
Yeah, all of the work we do is as an IU employee, as a professor, where the university owns that intellectual property. That then gives us the opportunity to recruit high-quality venture funds so that we can translate this, because it's an expensive proposition to put these things into human subjects. And I've often said in vitro in cells, in vivo in whole animals, in veritas, the Latin term for in truth, right? Until you put these in patients, you don't know what you have. And it takes a tremendous funding to do that. The venture community has done well by these companies that we have funded, and that's what brings them back to help us create new startups to answer new questions that we have. As those companies mature, other larger companies that do more of the applied research, the Novos, the Lillys, the Mercks, the Pfizers, the Roches, come calling to acquire these companies. So I said, of the 8 companies, 4 of them have been sold. 2 of them to Novo, 1 to Roche, 1 to J&J. 2 of them are public entities at this point in time, and 2 of them are still in the Series A venture stage. It's a lot of companies for 20 years, but it's been incredibly exciting, and I approach it because those are the folks that can fund the questions I want to answer. What is the molecular basis of a memory? How do we deposit what you're learning right now? How do we retrieve it? And why do we lose it in later life? That is coming. Before this century is over, the century of biology, as much as the century of the last century was a century of physics and engineering science, right? Lindbergh crosses the Atlantic in 27. We're on the moon in 69. 40 years. Look at what has happened with biotechnology in the last 40 years. And you ain't seen nothing yet, right? The next 40 years are going to be even more phenomenal. In fact, the student who arrives this year, as I arrived in 1974 as a graduate student, hopefully will come to visit this forum 51 years from now for the tricentennial to tell you about all these wonderful things I'm sharing with you. It's unbelievably exciting. That's what gets me up in the morning. That's what gets my socks running up and down. And I'm anxious to get back to the laboratory. Thank you for inviting me to visit.
Thank you. Okay, we could have listened to that for the rest of the day. Just amazing, amazing. What a gift. Okay, we have one item of old business, amendments to the expressive activity policy, UA10. Will Vice President and General Counsel Tony Prather please join us to present these amendments?
Let me first say what an incredible act to follow. Very impressive. Thank you. So, last fall, after the board approved the expressive activity policy, President Whitten committed to a spring 2025 review of the expressive activity policy. Subsequent to the board's approval of the policy, the ACLU filed a lawsuit against Indiana University challenging the expressive activity policy's 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. limitation on expressive activities. Earlier this spring, I, along with representatives from the administration and the 3 UFC co-chairs who were behind me, and thank you so much for your support, we met and we drafted a memorandum to address how we were going to get the feedback, and we posed 2 questions. What changes, if any, would you like to see in expressive activity policy? And what's the rationale and support of any changes that you suggested? And again, I want to thank Danielle, Phil, and Greg for their incredible assistance in that review. Following the same process that my office utilized in the summer of 2024 when we sought to feedback on the original policy, this review request was sent to 30-plus representatives of 22 university stakeholder groups that included faculty, students, and staff on each of the campuses. And consistent with our process in the summer of 2024, I, along with, and I have 2 of them here, Senior Associates Angie Barra, Andrea Newsom, and Law Clerk Josiah Suarez, we met and we reviewed all of the feedback that we received from the university stakeholder groups. Just as we were finishing that feedback and trying to figure out how to collate all of that and figure out what we were going to do next, Judge Richard Young issued a preliminary injunction that enjoined the university from enforcing the expressive activity policy to the extent that it prohibits certain activities between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. That same day, we reached out to our outside counsel to begin work on revising the policy to address the issues that Judge Young raised in his opinion. We have completed those revisions and present for the board's approval the revised expressive activity policy that really importantly from my perspective incorporates feedback that we received from the university community and also to address the issues that Judge Young raised in his opinion. And it is my recommendation that the board approve this June 2025 version of the expressive activity policy. Are there any questions?
Okay, approval is requested for the proposed policy amendments to the expressive activity UA10. Do we do this at every meeting? It feels like we have a lot of revisions to this policy. It's an ongoing
Not
living,
every
breathing.
meeting, but our goal, quite frankly, is to continue to try to make the policy better.
Yeah.
To continue to receive feedback from the university community and adopt that feedback when it helps us make the policy better. So yes, I have been here before asking for revisions to the policy, but again, I'm grateful to the university community for the feedback. I'm grateful to the UFC co-chairs for their assistance. I'm grateful to my team. And yes, I'm here again asking for revisions to the policy.
Yeah, well, thanks for your rigor around that to the whole team.
And I move the adoption of the amended policy.
Second. Let me make sure you heard the second. I'm sorry.
Are there any further comments? Okay, all in favor?
Comment on your right.
Oh, yes.
Yes, and thank you for permitting me to speak on this. And I've spent 50 years of my practice litigating a very robust view of the First Amendment. And so this issue, not only in my general practice, but for the purposes of the university, I think is of critical importance that we get this right. And I really want to compliment the General Counsel, in my opinion, as having done that. Now,
Thank you.
Indiana University is, quote, the university of the state, end of quote. Sorry, Purdue. Our Indiana Constitution, of course, authorizes education as an activity of the state of Indiana with the purpose in mind of, quote, encourage by all suitable means the moral, intellectual, scientific, and agricultural improvement of the people of the state of Indiana, understanding that knowledge and learning generally diffuse throughout the community is essential to the preservation of a free government, end of quote. So since 1820, the Indiana University has been supported by the people of the state of Indiana to serve and benefit the state of Indiana. One of the principal ways we do that is educating our students. And in educating our students, what is critical, in my opinion, is creating well-rounded, informed, independent thinkers who have the necessary communication, critical thinking, and problem-solving skills that will providing specialized forms of education and training that focuses on imparting knowledge and practical skills required for life in America. Now, the central feature of an institution which encourages problem solving and critical thinking is what we've incorporated in the First Amendment and in the Indiana University First Amendment policy, UA 14. And that is to protect, encourage, and nurture free speech and robust debate among diverse points of view. That is the most critical element of creating the type of citizens I believe that we are seeking to form at IU. Now, the expressive activities policy is, of course, is an application of the power that Indiana University, as a government entity, has in regulating free speech. And and of course, there are aspects of speech that are protected, and then there are other aspects that can be regulated that would otherwise be thought of perhaps as free speech, but that can be regulated. Now, the policy that was adopted had two features, and unfortunately in the debate about these have been conflated. One feature was that between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m., quintessential First Amendment activity, such as passing out brochure, if two or more people passed out a brochure or wanted to try to get people to sign a petition, that they had to seek approval 10 days prior to that activity. The other part was dealing with encampments and other aspects of the activities that occurred at that time. The part that was sued by the ACLU is the 11 to 6 a.m. requirement of prior approval for what is quintessential First Amendment activity, and the court ruled, and I agree with this ruling that was sought by the ACLU, that policy was overbroad. Now, what was not dealt with in that case, and quite properly so, is the other aspects of regulation that were enforced at that time. And so the new policy recognizes these differences. It recognizes that during 24 hours a day in Dunn Meadow, and when I was here as an Indiana University student, I protested in Dunn Meadow, so I know what that means. It's a hallowed ground as far as I'm concerned, that a full First Amendment rights to engage in that activity are fully protected. Now, it also recognizes, and this, is important because it came into play, and that is there are limits to what you can do in the name of the First Amendment. You cannot disrupt, in other words, prevent people from prevent or interrupt the operations of Indiana University. You can't put up structures on university property if they decide that that is not suitable or appropriate. You can't hang signs on buildings. You can't deface buildings. You can't go camping if the university chooses to prevent that activity. You can't block ingress and egress. You can't use too great of sounds. And what is, I think, remarkable about this resolution, this policy, revised policy, is that it does capture all of those things and says that cannot be done on gunmetal quite properly under the strictures of the First Amendment, while recognizing and granting full First Amendment rights that to people that want to come into that place. So I want to also particularly compliment our general counsel because he sought comment, as he mentioned, and I think this was very significant, from many different organizations, received comments, carefully considered them, and in some cases incorporated their comments into the policy. And that's the kind of transparency and involvement of stakeholders that I think is really important to come to proper decisions by this board and by Indiana University. So I enthusiastically support this revision of the expressive activities policy, and thank you for your work.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Moving on to, so does trustees have any other old business? Okay, moving on to new business. We have one item, but several policies in front of us today. First, I want to commend President Winton and her team, Brenda, Danielle, the whole group, for their significant time and effort over the past several weeks interpreting the recent changes in legislation, specifically Indiana House Enrolled Acts 1001 and 1041 and the Senate Enrolled Acts 289 and 448. During this time, the team also began working to identify adjustments or gaps in university policies affected by the new legislation. So these laws required a review of university policies to ensure IU's compliance with the new legislation. The review determined there are 26 policies that must be adjusted by the board and one new policy that is needed. The other 32 are not under the board's purview and are being addressed through the expedited approval process by the Policy Executive Committee. During today's meeting, the board will be asked to review and vote on proposed revisions to 2 sets of existing policies and the adoption of one new policy. So these actions will ensure, it's a little complicated and I apologize for that, but we're going to try to break it down. These actions will ensure that Indiana University remains in compliance with the new legislation passed by the Indiana General Assembly and maintains the integrity of our mission as an institution of learning and research. By supporting these policies and the policy revisions, we also acknowledge that several of the revisions represent stopgap measures given the July 1st deadline effective date of the new legislation. So further revisions will be considered as we continue to strengthen our policy environment. As we consider these policy revisions, I'm also thankful to President Winton and university leaders who have made it clear that the university will continue to collaborate and consult with faculty representatives and governance organizations. Additionally, the revisions bring together alignment with the best practice and many of our Big Ten peers. I endorse these policy actions and recommend them to my fellow trustees for approval. So we're going to vote on these policies in 3 categories. The first category includes policies requiring update to the responsible office and/or administrator roles only. So it's changing a couple of words in each one that changes who the responsible administrator is. There are 12 policies in this category, including ACA 03, 09, 14, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 26, 47, 60, 76, and 17. And I assume they have access to these, right, on the website, or, okay. So approval is requested for the policies requiring updates to responsible office or responsible administrator roles. Second? Are there any comments from the trustees? Okay. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, approved. The second category are policies requiring content revisions and updates to the responsible office and administrative roles, as well as some other changes. So these 14 policies in this category, including ACA 1, 4, 5, 41, 45, 52, 79, UA 08, ACA 12, 21, ACA 33, 37, 38, and 54. Approval is requested for policies requiring content revisions and updates to responsible office and/or responsible administrator roles. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second? Okay, any comments? All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's approved. The third category is a new policy regarding post-tenure faculty productivity and annual review. Approval is requested for establishing post-tenure faculty productivity and annual review policy, BOT 24. Is there a motion for approval? Second?
Second.
Okay. Any comments?
Since this is a new policy, could we just talk a little bit about the process and who was involved in developing?
Yeah. Do you want to do that?
Would you like to take that?
Yeah.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, this was a policy that needed to be created to be effective July 1st when the law took effect, and I'm very grateful that the 3 chairs of the representative campuses, our UFC co-chairs, Greg, Danielle, and Phil, who we'll hear from later today on separate issues, participated in partnership with members from the executive group of the academic leadership team, and they came together in a couple of weeks, frankly, and looked at how this was done across peer institutions, and had guidance, I think, also from general counsel about what would need to happen to be in compliance with the law, and I think they did a terrific job in short order, so thank you guys. Thanks to everyone for drafting the policy.
Okay. Did I make that motion already? No.
You did. Ready to
Okay. Is there a motion for approval?
There was.
Second? No. One comment. All in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Okay, opposed? Okay, motion approved. Thank you, trustees, and again, President Whitten and your team for the hard work on this. Do trustees have any other new business?
Not new business, but I want to commend you and the committee, because that's at the heart of what the responsibility of the university is to get our policies right. So as we continue to do this and make sure that we stay compliant to state legislation, there's work to be done. There has been great work, and we've got to continue to do that. So I want to thank you and your team for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And with that, the committee is adjourned. I return it to you, Chair Buckner.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We'll now go to Chair Siebert to lead the Student Relations Committee. Chair Siebert?
Thank you, Chair Buckner. And we just have one presentation for the Student Relations Committee today. So I'm pleased to welcome up to the big table, as we're calling it, Vice Chancellor Lamar Hilton. Dr. Hilton leads the Student Affairs area on the Bloomington campus, and I know him very well and glad that he's presenting to us today. So, Dr. Hilton, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for the opportunity to share about the care team at IU Bloomington. I'm always thrilled when we get the opportunity to share the great work being done by our team in supporting students to their success. The care team has existed for many years at IU in various versions. Other common names for a campus group like this include behavioral intervention team or threat assessment team. There is a version of this team across all of our campuses at Indiana University, which create exceptional opportunities for sharing best and promising practices in our work supporting students in their most critical moments. I'll share now a bit more about the role and composition of the care team at IU Bloomington. The team is comprised of staff from around the across the university campus who work to intervene at the earliest possible stage with students who appear to be struggling socially, academically, or personally. The care team coordinates outreach and intervention with all the relevant units and resources on campus, all with the goal of supporting the students' health, safety, and success, as well as keeping the campus community safe. The care team is a multidisciplinary group of professionals representing units from across campus, including residence life, counseling and psychological services, IUPD, sorority and fraternity life, and the Office of International Services, to name a few. The team meets weekly to review care referrals, identify students of concern, and coordinate outreach. The care team functions as the central point of contact for coordinating a response to distressed or distressing students. They work to triage care referrals, determine the level of risk or threat, and identify the most appropriate campus resources to either support the student or the referral source itself. A formalized protocol is followed to determine the level of risk and corresponding interventions. The care team also plays a role in providing consultation to faculty, staff, families, and peers who are concerned about the well-being of a student. Now I'll share a little more about the data from our care cases. You can see here that the volume of our work has steadily increased over time. The chart on the left shares the total number of care cases through the 2022-23 academic year. In this data, there could be a singular student who has multiple care cases, meaning that they have been referred multiple times for multiple reasons. Beginning in the 2023-24 academic year, we switched the technology we use to track care referrals. Our current technology now tracks the number of students rather than the number of cases. The data in the chart shown on the right reflects the total number of students we have served over the course of the last 2 academic years. I want to highlight the fact that the care team follows up on each and every one of these referrals. One reason for the increase in total number of referrals is the great work that has been done developing marketing and training opportunities for our campus community. We are hopeful that as the campus learns more about the care team and the referral process, that we will continue to provide a mechanism by which at-risk students are identified early and receive the support they need to be safe, healthy, and successful. Another point that the data illuminates is that students are coming through our doors with increased need for support. Our laser focus on ensuring that students have a premier and thriving experience at IU Bloomington must continue to include how we ensure access to resources and supports that are necessary for success in every facet of the student's life. A breakdown of where our spring 2025 care referrals come from shows that faculty and associate instructors are the largest referral source, followed by self-submissions from the student of concern themselves, and then our staff. Other common referral sources include academic advisors, residence life staff, parents and family members, peers, and anonymous submissions as well. Educating our community on how to identify a student in distress, communicate with someone of concern, understanding how the care team functions, and knowing what resources are available to support students is of primary importance. Our primary source of education and training happens via the Student Care and Resource Center located in the Indiana Memorial Union. The Student Care and Resource Center is home to our centralized care support services and basic needs support, including a satellite location for our Crimson Cupboard and our Loaner Laptop program. If a student, faculty, or staff member has a question or a student-based need, the Student Care and Resource Center is a great first stop. The staff will help connect students to the best people and organizations on campus to meet their needs. Here are some examples of passive marketing that can be found in our residence halls, our recreational facilities, the Indiana Memorial Union, throughout our academic spaces, and in other student-facing venues around campus. These graphics allow for students to have ready-made access to our care website, as well as other resources around our campus. The Student Care and Resource Center is available to give presentations to campus partners on the work and role of the care team. This is an opportunity for the broader campus community to learn about the care referral process, how the care team can support students, resources, and how to support students in distress. In addition to the opportunities listed on the slide, our care staff has had the opportunity to present to new groups this past semester, including the Office of Admissions and students enrolled in the EDUCX 158 course for college preparedness. Additionally, the care coordinators tabled at events for fraternity and sorority leaders and attendees of the supervisor conference held in the Indiana Memorial Union. There were also information sessions provided to academic advisors between mid-February and early March, and this time was selected to align before the pre-spring break midterm cycle, a time that has historically had an increase in care referrals. Here are a couple of testimonials that further reflect the work of our care team. You'll notice in both the student and parent comments that the care team's work happened during some of the most difficult times of a student's life. These comments are reflective of the importance of this work and how IU Bloomington demonstrates its care in action. As I close, I call attention to the lapel pin that I'm wearing today. This pin, called the Resilience Pin, was developed by David Beardmore, a staff member in our Student Care and Resource Center. At the end of each semester, the Student Care and Resource Center reviews the list of all applicants for graduation to determine if there are any students who stand out for their resilience. They identify students who have overcome an impactful mental, physical, or personal challenge that resulted in an interaction with the IU Bloomington care team. We remain proud of the hard work and perseverance students demonstrate through the completion of their degree. And to symbolize and honor that pride, we present students with this resilience pin that can be worn as part of their graduation regalia. I thank you, our Board of Trustees, for allowing me the opportunity to share about how we are assisting students with being resilient in tough times and to keep their success at the forefront of all of the work that we do. Thank you so much for your time today, and I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Dr. Hilton, I'd just like to thank you and the team. This mental health situation for youth today, it's so important, and so many of us have been touched by very difficult situations with youth, and having that resource for prospective parents and for students, it's so important to keep our kids safe and let them be successful and kind of get through that period without adverse outcomes. So we thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, Trustee Morris, and I also want to give a great shout out to our student care and resource team who does a phenomenal job with this work.
That's great.
Yeah, question. How do you measure success on this program? I see thousands of cases. How many of these cases have positive outcome?
Most. Thank you, Trustee Torres, for that question. Most of the cases do result in favorable outcomes. Obviously, there is a spectrum of needs that students bring when they do have an engagement with the care team. They're not always necessarily the most dire, but they do have a significant impact on the academic success for students and social adjustment that students are facing. I'll say that our data shows that our first-year students are our primary audience in terms of the percentage of students that present cases to the care team. And many of those, again, result in a very, very favorable outcome with students. We receive a lot of positive feedback from students as well, thanking our staff for being there for them and for serving as a resource and a form of support during some of their most perilous times. For those situations or experiences that are more critical or more dire, particularly around mental health, we have seen a decrease in the number of suicide ideations, attempts, and/or completions, which I think is another indicator of our success because, again, we are triaging these students much earlier in the process before it gets to be a dire situation.
Thank you so much for that. I also want to thank the faculty. If I recall the numbers,
Yes.
50%
About
of the
30%.
referrals, is it 30? I'm sorry,
Yes.
come from faculty.
faculty,
so
yes.
that faculty already has so much on their hands that they're trying to do. But to maintain that personal connection, even if I remember Ballantine Hall classes with 400 people,
Yes.
that's difficult. So
Yes.
thank you to the faculty for paying attention to these kids, especially for parents like myself, who one out of college now, thank goodness, one down, two to go. And you're across the country. And there's fear because we can't see our kids.
That's right.
So we so appreciate that. And on that note, the marketing aspect of it, how can you continue to improve to get the word out to prospective students and parents where there are fears letting your kid go across the country, but this is a resource?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that, Trustee Steele. And I echo that thanks to the faculty. They are some of our greatest partners in this work. In terms of our marketing, particularly to prospective parents, that is an area that we continue to grow in. We are afforded an opportunity during our new student orientation, which, by the way, welcome to that season at IU Bloomington, to engage very directly with our parents, to provide them much of the information that I've provided you this morning or this afternoon relative to the resources and support and how to get in touch if they do have questions or concerns about their student. I can say, as someone who left their parents' home and went 8 hours away from home to go to college, that having that reassurance is certainly helpful. And then we have a parent and family office that continues to engage with parents and family members throughout their experience at IU, making sure that, again, as we are welcoming and engaging their student and community, that we're doing the same for them as well.
Great. Trustees, any other questions? Thank you, Dr. Hilton. We
Thank you
appreciate
so
your
much.
service. And there are many other care team members in the room, so thank you for your service as well. So, trustees, any old business for the Student Relations Committee? Don't think so. Any new business? And with that, Student Relations Committee is adjourned, and I hand it back over.
Going to make this nice and sweet. We're going to take 10 minutes and we'll come back to it. So please, you got 10 minutes and then we're getting back to it. Thank you.